Put the fucking mic on.
You want to ride longer? Are you tired of a sore and achy ass? Then fix it with a high-quality butt buffer seat cushion. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store and check out our full line of butt buffer seat cushions.
I got mail. Yay!
Got something in the old inbox there, Lurch, that you want to share?
Yeah, we do. This is from patron member Derek Murray, and he says, "Hey guys, thanks so much for sending me the seat." He's talking about a Saddleman Road sofa he just purchased. I just put over 700 miles this past weekend over here in the White and Green Mountains. Wow, the seat feels like the butt buffer is in the seat, which is true. It does have gel in that seat, gel core. So comfy. And the heat, holy God, nothing like a soft heated seat on the ass. You can feel the slight give that allows you to move your hips in turns and just to change position on long rides. The quality in the seat, top notch in my opinion. I don't know how many stitches are in it, but I looked over every single stitch. You can see the pride that someone had. Not one wave or out of place stitch anywhere. Can't say enough about it. I would, if it would vibrate, it would be cool. A vibrated heated seat for your ass. Holy cow.
Lurch is very familiar with vibrators in it.
Yeah, you put a cam in your bike and you can get some vibrations there that way. And he says, almost forgot. Of course, I put the butt buffer on towards the end of the day and now it'll just stay there. Yes, the heat comes through right through the butt buffer and it is wicked warm. Love it. Thanks, Lab. I promise myself to ride to the store one day.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you so much. Patron member, Derek Murray. He left us as an email on that, huh?
He did.
Over at lawabidingbiker.com/contact. You can leave us a written message or a voicemail. We love to hear your beautiful voices. We'd like to play them on the podcast if it's relevant. And we need more of those. We need more voicemails. So head over to lawabidingbiker.com/contact. And even if it's just a joke or something funny, you want to poke at us, that's cool. We love those, but we also love the written message. So thank you so much for sending that over. Lurch.
Yeah.
We're adding frickin' products like crazy to the Law Abiding Biker store faster than ever before.
Lickety split, one might say.
Yeah. Well, we would get something to you lickety split, but I guess you can kind of use it for that.
Sure, why not?
Really fast.
I just wanted to say lickety split.
Yeah, I know. I can see that. You really tried to fit that one in there.
It's almost, the weekend. We need a lickety some splitties.
All I can tell you is we announce stuff and new opportunities and new products, but we can only get those out so fast with the podcast episodes. So I would just say head over there as often as you feel you want and search around the menus and all that kind of stuff and see what else is to offer. If there is something you want us to carry in the store, certainly hit us up. We can always get it for you. We're Drag Specialties, Parts Unlimited, Western Power Sports. We can get it to you. Same price as the big boys, same price as corporate, just as fast shipping. We have access to all the same shit they do. We're just a bootstrap company of bikers helping bikers. That's how we differ. But we could certainly get you that stuff if you want to custom order it, and we'll send you an invoice. But if it's something that is popular, we'll certainly put it up on the priority list of items to list in the store. But anyways, Lurch wants to mention a few new stuff that's in there.
Yes, we've added a bunch of linkages. So as of yesterday, related to the time of this recording, the Kuryakin linkages, they come and go. They're great. We love them. We've used them for years. You get rid of that shitty pressed ball and socket joint, and you put a nice Heim joint in there so that your linkage doesn't fail and doesn't leave you stranded. But they were pretty much the only game in town for quite a long time. And we would sell them out. We'd buy them up and sell them out, and then they're out of stock for several months until Kuryakin can make more. But we were able to find some new ones. So we've got some different linkages in the store. If those Kuryakins run out, we've got Trask, we've got Sly Fox, and we've got Thrashin. There's some of those are carbon fiber, some are metal, chrome, black. And the Kuryakin, we actually found some more versions of that as well now. There's a girder and a flame and some different versions in there. So hopefully with those additions, we will be able to keep a stock of those linkages for you.
I would say which we are right now, like Lurch says, the Kuryakin comes and goes. We've been using it for years. We love it, but it's difficult to keep in stock. the way they manufacture. I found I like the Thrashin as much, if not a little bit better, the design of it. It's very basic, but they have a chrome and a black, and it's in stock at the time of this recording, and it seems like they'll keep a decent stock. We hope. So if you don't see the black, Karaoke, the Thrashin is a bit more expensive, but they didn't overdo it with gaudiness or anything like that. It's very sleek. It's the same kind of Heim joint. Again, both in stock chrome and black, where the Karaoke black, we're not sure when we're going to have that again at the time of this recording. So
it's looking maybe January, but that's an estimated date.
Yep. If you do find the Karaoke listing, scroll to the bottom, there's a click through where you can click through and shop other linkages. And of course, check out the Sly Fox and Trask too. Cool stuff. But I do like that Thrashin that kind of catches my eye as a direct replacement for the Karaoke. And so there you go. What else you got?
As we've mentioned previously, we are a Hogworks dealer. We are working to get their products into our store. It just takes some time. But some of the new stuff we've added in is the lighted license plate frames for the new bikes. So the 23.5 newer Road Glide and Street Glide and the Street Glide Ultra with the new fairing design. They've got an option to get rid of that bulky, ugly rear license plate frame and light. And it's considerably cheaper than some of the other options out there. And it looks pretty good. There's some requests for that to bring it in the store, so we got it. Chrome and black, got an LED light across top to light up your plate. And then we've added locking detachable luggage cam locks, so for your detachable trunks and sissy bars and luggage racks and whatnot, if you want to lock those on, we've got options for that. Chrome and black as well. Those are as good a quality, if not better, than the Harley and a fraction of the price. And we're just adding more and more. We're going to be adding the trunks in here pretty soon. Those are big listings. It takes us some time. But in the meantime, if you see something in Hogworks that you want and we don't quite have it listed, get a hold of us. We can get it for you.
Bingo. Hey, Bikeaholic. 03D has a wide variety of innovative products for your Harley-Davidson and a brand new line for the all-new Honda Goldwing named Gold Strike.
I like gold.
Top quality, affordable chrome lighting and comfort products. Zero Gold Strike are the motorcycle LED lighting innovators for CAN bus plug-and-play system compatibility. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store. Check out our full line of 03D products. Do not forget about Shop Pay Installments. It's been available in the Law Abiding Biker store for some time. And so here's the deal. We highly encourage our audience, unlike probably any other motorcycle store, we encourage you to drink while you're shopping in the store.
Lower those inhibitions.
Lower the inhibitions. If you have some gummies, eat a couple gummies.
If it's legal in your state.
Take a couple rips from the bubbler if you feel like it. Whatever you feel like doing. We just want you to be relaxed while you're shopping in our store. It's really, we want you to feel non-stressed and willing to hit the buy button anytime you want. Okay.
All I'll add to that is please check the fitment tab while you're enjoying whatever you're enjoying. So you don't order the wrong thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, all jokes aside. So, you got to get something. You're going on a trip or, oh crap, I can't quite afford that right now, but I really like to have it for the trip. Well, there you go. That's where the Shop Pay Installments integrated into the Law Abiding Biker store. You can take advantage of that. You have the option to buy the products right now. Hit that buy button after you checked fitment, knowing you can pay in 4 equal payments, interest free. And a lot of guys taking advantage of that. Suppose we should get this thing rolling here. Welcome back, you freaking bikeaholics. This is the podcast for the motorcycle majority, the Big MM, also known as the
99%.
Large and in charge of the motorcycle scene more than any time in history. By being here, by listening, you're part of what we call the hashtag.
Hashtag Biker Revolution.
We have one question for you before we get started. What are you waiting for, bikeaholics?
Mount up and let us take you on another wild-ass ride.
Ryan Urlacher here, your host of the Law Abiding Biker podcast, and your
high-tech redneck.
Awesome episode for you guys. I'm actually excited about this one.
Yeah.
It's going to be all about, if you have heard the news, Polaris sold Indian to a private equity firm, mostly the overall. We will talk about that, and I'm going to pipe him in right now. And we have special guest. We're piping him in. We've got Anthony Peters here. Anthony, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Well, doing well.
And the reason we brought Anthony in, well, number one, we've gotten to know him very well over the years. He's been to a lot of meetups, and he's a patron member, of course. And also he's an avid Indian rider along with his wife.
And he's
also
been in the studio personally here.
He has.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually physically been here in the studio before. So, so he has a lot of knowledge, and I know he follows this stuff pretty close. And I figured it would be wonderful to have, somebody that long-term Indian owner to kind of pipe in. I will tell you, while we're talking about Indians, we've done some Instagram reels and some short stuff and some content, but sitting I could look out our window into the law-abiding biker shop from the studio here. And there sits a denim black 2025 Indian Roadmaster that Indian. Now, if you guys remember, I had the Pursuit for a year. That was the 24. So that had the 108. And this is the 112 Power Plus. They sent it to us for long-term review. So I'm very appreciative of that. And so we'll be doing a long-term review of that. Already did some content. I have been out on it. And I got to ride those bikes. They flew me to Vegas early 25, spring of 25. But I had, when you go to those events, I've said it before, it's limited time. It's a couple days, and really you only have one day to really ride it, and you're switching between bikes. So I'm appreciative that I can have it longer term, to really spend more time with it and put more miles on it. So we got Anthony's just chomping at the bit probably to start talking about this.
I got questions about the Power Plus that they loaned you for reviewing, because I haven't had a chance to ride the Power Plus yet. I'm still on, I've got the Challenger 108. Stacy, she's got the Chieftain. But when we saw those come out, we were looking at them and we noticed that it's the same tank and engine, and it seems like they just put the Chieftain fairing on the Challenger and the Pursuit. Is that a fair assessment? I haven't really looked at one up close yet.
I'm not sure that I can answer that question completely.
Okay.
Do you understand the question, Matt?
I do.
I kind of do. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So essentially, to put it into Harley terms, the Road Glide and the Street Glide are essentially the same bike. The only difference is the fairing.
Right.
So is this, the Pursuit, which is like a Road Glide. Now you've got a Batwing fairing on it. Is it the same bike? Is it just the fairing the only change?
Oh, sorry.
I believe that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty much the same exact bike.
It looks like it.
Right. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Right. I completely was like, I got tied up in a whole nother thought on that. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. Because going back to like mine and Stacy's, they're completely different bikes, completely different engines. Whereas a Street Glide and a Road Glide are just different fairings.
Right.
And it seems like that's what Indian's done now, is they just took that liquid cooled engine of the Challenger and put the Chieftain fairing on it.
Right. Yep. That's a fair assessment.
And that would be smart from a manufacturing standpoint.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yep. Good call. Glad I was able to figure that out. So, So let's, with that, let's just dive in, and we got some notes here. Now, if you want the 7-minute, 8-minute, just in your face version of this with nothing but information as fast as you can absorb it, go watch my YouTube video I did on this. It's getting a lot of views. We were notified of this by some representatives within Indian. And so I was telling, it was funny because Anthony hit us up on email about a couple hours after they had emailed us. And so I was already in the works of trying to figure things out, and it was real quick. And to get this video out, and I was able to get it out the next morning, or that day, that afternoon. So it's very packed, and it's a pretty succinct video if you want to see that. But here we have the opportunity on a podcast, because it's long form content, to get in a lot deeper. And of course, get Anthony's perspective. And I got Lurch in the studio. The video was all me. Most of it was just informational, but I did give some perspective on it. But so we were really going to tear this apart. So let me start with this. Polaris has sold a majority stake in Indian Motorcycle to a private equity firm called Carolwood LP. So it poses some questions Is this a power move that could launch Indian into the next chapter? Or is this the beginning of the end? You know, that kind of stuff. And I know there's, you know, different opinions on that. We'll get into some of that and our thoughts and our opinions after we kind of talk about some of the actual facts here. So we're going to cover what's happening behind the scenes a bit, how this could impact not only Indian and Harley Davidson, but the motorcycle industry as a whole. And of course, we're going to give our personal takes on what this might mean for riders out there. So I got to ask Anthony, you know, I know you heard this news. What was your first reaction when you heard Polaris was selling Indian? Did you punch the wall?
No. Honestly, I didn't panic at all. It was just like, oh, let's see what's going on here. You know, opened up the, I think I first saw it on like Wall Street Journal article or something. So it was, you know, let's open it up and see what this is. Cause, you know, and as I've thought about it, it's like, this is just like the last company I worked for when the CEO no longer wanted to continue to be the CEO. None of his family members wanted to take over. And so a larger company like Carolwood came in and bought us. And everybody was in a panic, like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? Are we going to lose our jobs? Are they going to, you know, downsize us? There was a lot of that same panic that we're seeing here from, you know, Indian riders, you know, oh my gosh, they're selling off. If Indian was not doing well and Polaris wanted to get rid of them, Polaris would just shut it down. They just turn the spigot off and it would go away. Because I think I was reading a report this week, Indian's about 10% of Polaris, even though they had, you know, just under $500 million in profit last year, they're still only 10% of Polaris. Polaris is a huge company. So if they wanted to just let Indian die, they just let Indian die. Selling it off like this, I think it's just like all the reports and the letters. You've seen them, Ryan. Matt, I'm sure you read them as well. This is so the company can move faster and be more agile and be more focused on just the Indian brand, you know, and so I'm going to speak for a second as a guy who's always been with the, you know, Department of Defense or Department of War, whatever you want to call it today.
War.
Hooah!
War. Get some.
So even after retiring from active duty, I've still continued to work within the DoD and for the Marine Corps. And what I've seen, having been Marine Corps, having been Army, and working with both of them, the Marine Corps is a lot smaller than the Army. So in many ways, the Marine Corps can adapt and change a lot faster and a lot easier than the Army can. And even within the military, you've got the special operations community, and they're an even smaller element with their own budget, and they can even move quicker and more agile when it comes to, we want to buy new gear and we want to make changes to stuff. And that's what I see is going to be happening for Indian, is they're moving away from the grand mothership and they're getting their own piece. So now they don't have to ask for permission or increased budget or anything. Can we do this? Can we do that? But they're assuming a lot more risk on their own doing this. And I think it's a really smart move. And I think, so just like when I was in studio with you guys, what was that, almost 2 years ago, and we were talking about 2023, Stacy and I had gone to Sturgis, and I noticed you could tell there was pressure on Harley, because every little town throughout the Black Hills, whether it was Deadwood, Hill City, wherever you went, there was a Harley truck there, so you could test ride Harleys. You know, yes, BMW was there. Yes, they've got the Indian dealership there, but you could tell Harley was really pushing it for come ride our bike, come, see why you want to ride a Harley if you're not riding a Harley. This past year, we went again out to Sturgis. It wasn't that way. The market's down for motorcycles. So I think some of the pressure's off Harley Davidson right now. But I think just the entire motorcycle market, because it's down for everybody's feeling the same pressure right now. We've had a couple years since both Indian came out with something new and then Harley came out with the new designs on the bikes. So right now we're just in that little bit of lull where they're trying to decide, okay, which way do we want to take it next?
Okay.
So
let me unpack a little bit of what you said there. I'm going to back up to your point on, Polaris would have, if they wanted Indian to die, they would have just let it die. I'll give a little bit the opposite side of that, and some of the concerns on that is, I don't know, in my opinion, that Polaris would just let it die. The reason is, and I could be wrong completely on this, it's some of what I've read too, and I'm not taking a side on it. I'm just saying, if I'm Polaris and I'm looking at Indian, which is a subdivision of the larger Polaris company, which is a monster, and they're 7% of my sales. All right. And you're thinking, shit, it's not doing that well. And we'll get into a little bit more about why they would sell it off. There's some reasons, for shareholders and things like that. But as a company owner, I think I would make the same decision if I was uncertain about the success of Indian, because if you let it die, you eat all that as a company. Whereas in this case, let's just say that's why they did it. I'm not saying that's why, but they can cut and run. Not only do they make money because they sold off all the shares, now they wipe their hands clean, right? So they're out clean. They're out. They're whole. Where they lose a fuckload of money if that goes under their umbrella. That's a real company thing and financial problem that you have to deal with. So now they have cut that, and now there's a whole bunch of benefits for Indian. So we'll get into that. So I'm just playing devil's advocate. To me, that if that is the case, it kind of seemed wise. And on the other token, we'll talk about that. I think it's also good for Indian to a certain extent. But I think Polaris, my gut tells me, let's just say this. Polaris is like all big companies. It wants to make money, a lot of money for the shareholders, right? And them making a decision to cut it like that, we'll get in a little bit of that, gives them a little bit more freedom to focus on the stuff that makes them money and all that. But I feel like if Indian was doing really good, there ain't no chance in hell they would have sold that. I mean, let's be clear. They're there to make money. If everything was going perfect with Indian, with Polaris, and it's booming and they're making money, you would have never heard of them. There would be no reason for them. So there's obviously a financial incentive here, which there are other financial incentives for doing this. So that's the other side of that. What, do you have anything on that, or am I just full of shit? Or
what I would say is, it's the motorcycle, sport as a whole is challenged right now, which I know we'll get into. And, Anthony alluded to that, just a little bit ago. Harley did something similar, kind of. I mean, they sold off all their, financing to another company and brought in a bunch of cash to infuse into Harley. So
I appreciate that, but that's completely different than,
I'm just saying they're selling stuff off to bring in money.
A segment of your, right.
But what I'm saying is exactly the same. No, it's not. But what I'm saying, I'm trying to compare the two. And the motorcycling segment, the sport in general is struggling right now. And that's the way they did it. They're not part of another company, right? So that's how Harley brought in money, was to sell off their financing. Polaris is doing something similar
But
here.
Polaris is not bringing any money for Indian.
Yes.
They're trying to
They sold the brand off. They brought
blow
money
up
into
the rest of their
Polaris.
company.
Right. What I'm saying is they brought money into
and
Polaris.
axed a whole division. Right.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, for
Not
real.
axed, they sold it. But yeah.
They made money.
I think that's oversimplifying a little bit, actually. I agree if they, just sold it off, but to be clear, they didn't sell off 100% of it. They're retaining some. They sold off controlling shares. So that for all we know, they only sold 51% to Carl. So I think they're expecting this to be a good move and a profitable move. So when Indian starts doing better, and if Indian's going to be traded separately on the stock market, that's going to help Polaris. They're still going to get their little bit of kickback on it.
Yeah, they did keep a small amount invested in the company for sure. But majority stake, obviously went. And the deal is It's not on Polaris if it doesn't do well. If it does well, then they'll just take in the money, but they have no control over it. So it was smart to keep a few shares that way. If it does, and I'm not saying it's not this. Like I said, we got a lot more to talk about, but I just wanted to say that, both sides of that, because I know there's people feel both ways. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And they haven't disclosed the amount. They're just saying that they sold over 50%.
Right, majority stake.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what it is.
And then, getting back to the points that you and I both made, I said 10% because I couldn't remember exactly, but the 7%.
I did.
The 7% that you mentioned, so Indian's only 7% of Polaris. I don't think everybody realizes how big Polaris is. So those listeners in the military, they're seeing it. Buying the M-Razors and buying the different tactical vehicles made by Polaris. I mean, that's got to be worth, a big chunk right there. So 7% for how big Polaris is, that's not a small amount of, of a company, really. When you look at what they do, snow machines, they've got the wonderful vehicle that I love to complain about, the Slingshot. So, as much as I dislike that thing, it sells. It makes money. So, yeah, let's not discount the 7%.
Yeah, to kind of put that in perspective of how big Polaris is, Indian made up only 7% of Polaris's annual revenue, which was $478 million. So you can imagine how much that company makes when 7% is $478 million.
Exactly.
Polaris expects to boost. So interestingly, this is kind of Polaris's take a bit. Polaris expects to boost profits by $50 million per year and add $1 EPS after sale, to the shares and all that. And they're obviously now, Polaris itself is now that they're free of Indian, basically, they want to focus to their off-road vehicles, snowmobiles, boats, which are their most profitable divisions within Polaris. So let's talk about this. So we kind of talked about whether it was a smart business move, and we're going to build on this a little bit. Or like I said, devil's advocate, Polaris bailing out on something they were very uncertain on. Or are they just cutting fat, or losing one of their most promising long-term brands? And does this say something bigger about how the motorcycle market is performing right now? And we'll get into that. So let's talk about this before we get into a deeper discussion about that. Who is Carolwood LP? All right. To give you a little background, private equity company based out of Los Angeles, founded in 2014. Interestingly, they focus on long-term investments, and this is really interesting, is they've never sold a company they've acquired since 14. So they buy them and they run them, and they specialize in helping entangled subsidiaries become successful standalone companies, which, if we didn't mention it, that is what Indian is going to be now. It's going to be a standalone company, no longer have a parent named Polaris to deal with, which can bring a lot of benefits, and we'll break some of those down in a minute. So one of the questions is, Anthony, and I've got my own opinion, but do we trust a private equity firm to handle a heritage brand like Indian. Yeah. You have any comments on that? I do.
I definitely think we can. I think that they're doing this because they want to make money. They didn't buy a large corporation with a bunch of moving parts that they could then sell off. Like, if you told me Carolwood came in and acquired Polaris, and now they're going to sell off all the divisions of Polaris separately and break them apart, I would be concerned, if that was possible. But it's not like Indian has all these different parts. They don't have a finance company the way Harley did. At least not to my knowledge. I've never had an Indian loan, but I've had a Harley loan. So I really don't see that there's any other opportunity than let's pour some gasoline on this thing and start running with scissors.
Yeah. I'm basing this off the YouTube comments on the video. I really read those. Uh-huh. So I start compiling, some of it. And so then I start doing some research. So there are a fuckload of comments about people very concerned, based on history and of private equity firms. And so I did a little research. And again, I don't want anybody to think I'm taking this stance. I'm trying to bring up both sides. All right. Cause that's a fair way to look at this. And then you can make up your own opinions. Cost cutting and short-term focus. This is a problem. And this is based on, history. Okay. This is a whole bunch of compiled information. All right. I didn't make this up. Private equity firms often prioritize short-term profitability to prepare for a resale or IPO within 3 to 7 years. Interestingly, I kind of throw that aside because Carolwood has never sold anything they've bought. So that's interesting. That's a promising, in my opinion, a promising thing. They can do aggressive cost reductions, including layoffs or downsizing key departments, reduction in R&D, marketing, and customer support budgets, pressure on management to hit quarterly EBITDA goals, sometimes at the expense of long-term growth or quality. Debt loading, leverage buyouts is a concern. Many PE acquisitions, which is private equity, uses leverage buyouts, LBOs, borrowing heavily against the company's assets. The risk, the company, not the PE firm, carries the debt. If revenue dips, high debt servicing costs can lead to cash flow crisis or bankruptcy. Less capital available for innovation, employee raises, or infrastructure. Asset stripping or financial engineering. Some PE firms improve short-term financials by selling valuable assets, real estate divisions, intellectual property, or doing sale leaseback deals. Result, the company may look more profitable on paper, but lose long-term flexibility or key capabilities. Leadership turnover and cultural disruption. PE firms often replace existing leadership teams or bring in executives aligned with their strategy. Potential outcomes: loss of institutional knowledge and employee trust, culture shift from mission-driven to purely profit-driven, employee morale decline due to rapid change and uncertainty. And then we got vendor, partner, and customer impact, which we'll talk about a little bit. PE-driven changes can ripple outward. Vendors might face renegotiated contracts or delayed payments. Customer service quality can decline as support is outsourced or reduced. Pricing structures may change to quickly boost margins. And there's a whole bunch, some past history, just to give you, I'm not going to go through everything. There's other things that have happened with private equity companies over the years, but examples of past history: Toys R Us, Brain, KKR, Vornado. They were saddled with debt, couldn't reinvest, ultimately went bankrupt. Sears, same thing. ESL investment, asset stripping, and lack of reinvestment hauled out the brand. Hospitals and nursing homes, various PE firms, cost cutting led to staffing shortages and safety issues. Motorcycle power sports suppliers, in some cases, reduced product innovation and support after PE buyouts. There's a whole bunch more. I just kind of wanted to go over why these people are leaving these comments. I get why now. I wasn't completely educated on it. Now I get why they're leaving a lot of those comments. You have something, Matt?
Oh, I was just going to say that last paragraph there actually gave some examples. Of positive examples of
good
coming in here. Right there. So it says signs of healthier PE relationships. Not all PE takeovers are bad. Some bring stability, investment, and expertise. So look for real investment in product, R&D, and people. Transparent communication about goals and timelines. Operational improvement rather than financial extraction. And partnership mentality rather than pure control. So there are examples of it going well.
There are.
Yeah.
Yes, good. I'm glad you saw that. So, pluses and minuses. Like I said, I had to bring that up because of the amount of comments that people are clearly educated on matters of PE companies, PE taking over. So
there definitely are examples of it going poorly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So with that said, we've kind of talked about who Carolwood is. Let's talk, and we are going to get into a bit more here, Anthony, about some of what's going on in our opinions, but I just kind of wanted to give the setup. What do you think about, this is interesting. Carolwood appointed Mike Kennedy as future CEO of Indian Motorcycle. Now, Kennedy spent 26 years at Harley-Davidson. Eventually, as VP and Managing Director of the Americas, he also ran Vance and Hines and Rumble-On. And Rumble-On, if you don't know what that was, I believe it was one of the biggest power sports. It is one of the biggest power sports. I had it in my video. If you go to the article, you can go to Rumble-On. But they're just a huge multi-power sports company. Let's talk about this. What do you think about a Harley veteran leading the Indian team? Is that a power mover betrayal, Anthony?
No, it's not betrayal at all.
Power move?
Maybe a power move, but
okay.
I'm just curious. So like if you look in the comments of when you did the video first announcing this earlier this week, some people, people are, what does this Pizza Hut guy and Topgolf guy know about, motorcycles? So, talking about the new CEO for Harley Davidson. And now you're bringing in a guy who's, been around the motorcycle community for a long time and stuff. So when I look at Harley Davidson, it's like, okay, this guy, Pizza Hut, Topgolf, now Harley Davidson, this guy sounds like someone who, it doesn't matter what you want him to sell, he's going to learn about it and he's going to sell it. And he's going to sell, what was it in Tommy Boy? A ketchup popsicle to a lady in white gloves. Maybe he's the guy that can do that. Let's give him a chance. Let's see what he can do. For who is it? Matt Kennedy coming in for Mike Kennedy. Coming in for, they're both named Mike. The guy going out and the guy coming in, right?
Yeah, believe so.
Yeah.
I know Mike Kennedy's coming in. Yeah, but
Kennedy's the one coming in. So this guy's coming in. He's got a very broad, yes, he was with Harley for a long time. And the only thing I've really seen of his resume is that he worked in a lot of different areas for Harley Davidson. Okay, so he's got a broad knowledge of how to run a large motor company like that. And then he's done a lot of stuff for Polaris. So now that's giving him even more diversity away from Harley thinking. Okay, I think he was valuable for Polaris because he knew how to compete against Harley Davidson. Now, is he going to move away from that and be better? It's almost like when you're watching sports or you're watching football and a guy's been the offensive coordinator, but can he really be the head coach?
Right.
So
right.
This is his chance to see, all right, Mr. Kennedy, can you be the head guy now? And can you run everything? Harley Davidson, Indian, let's see how they both can do. I mean, it's going to benefit all of us, whether you're Harley or Indian. It's going to be good for all of us. We need a third one. So just like with the cars, you've got the big three. Let's get the big three American bikes going. That would be something if we could get that.
Now, what do you think about, so Mike Kennedy's coming over 26 years inside Harley. And, we always say here, everybody knows us by now, we support that's why I love having the Indian here for long-term review. I've got Husqvarna, I've got a KLR, I've Harley Davidson. I love all motorcycles. I'm not so brand loyal that I don't that I can't ride other motorcycles. That would be ridiculous to me.
That would limit yourself.
What's that?
That would limit you too much.
Yeah, right.
You wouldn't be able, unless you had a Panamera, that's a little, big for the kind of trail riding you do.
Yeah. I just love motorcycles. I love riding. They all offer something unique. So with that said, I see some things, Indian, has lacked for, a lot of years in certain areas. That's not speaking to the bikes. I'm talking about why they haven't grown quickly. And I know you've probably seen some of that because you ride with Harley, you've ridden you've had Harley. So what do you hope that Mike Kennedy would bring to Indian to make it grow? Because it's kind of been not growing a lot for every, I don't know what the statistics are, but for every 100 Harleys you see on the road, you see an Indian. We want them to succeed. Obviously we'll get into that. I want them to succeed, but what do you think are some of the biggest things that he can bring that Harley does that would benefit Indian?
Yeah, great question. So a little bit to unpack there. So what can Kennedy do? What can Carolwood do? I say we got to go back in history. Let's go back to when, what was it? AMF, the company that made bowling pins, bought Harley Davidson and saved Harley Davidson from going bankrupt. And how did they do that? They did it a couple different ways. One was they started making the clothing line more popular. So the clothing line really helped save Harley Davidson. But one thing you've talked about extensively on the show is they captured younger riders. So, that was roughly early 70s that they had Harley Davidson. And that's when they made, they had a 150cc dirt bike that you could buy. Even if you watch the old Bad News Bears, you remember that one, the punk kid Kelly on his motorcycle, it was a Harley Davidson. And the last live episode that you did, we kind of hit on that a little bit, where there needs to be these smaller bikes. And talking with my friends this week about this topic, one of the points that was made was also, well, the kids today, they just want the electric bikes. No, the kids today are getting the electric bikes because the electric bikes are easy and affordable for them to get. Okay. I remember, and you guys probably do too, because we're the same age, when you were about 10 years old or, you were a young teenager, what if somebody had a moped? The little Thomas moped or whatever they were. That was pretty cool. You could get around a lot easier. And you were allowed to take, under 50 cc's, you were allowed to take it on the street still, and cruise down the road. There's nothing like that right now to grab the kids. Okay. And you're competing with, now the video games nowadays. I would actually, as a kid, I would get tired of playing video games and wanted to go outside. How long do you play the old Nintendo games before it's the same thing over and over again? So you go outside. So you've got to compete with that. So let's see if these guys can figure out how to engage with these kids. I say we make smaller bikes so we can get kids involved. Not the Stasic that Harley did, not the electric bike that Indian did. Indian even made the electric assisted bicycle. It wasn't really a competition for live wire or anything. But they need to engage and work on that smaller market. Even last night, I was reading another article about mid-size cruisers. Harley Davidson and Indian are almost completely missing that market. They've both upped the size of their smallest bikes to over 900 cc's. What is the Sportster, the 975, and then the 60 cubic inch Scout is It's about like 983, I think it is. So those are engine wise, those and insurance wise, those are very large bikes. Where is the competition to go against the more affordable and more beginner friendly, Honda Shadow or, the Suzuki Boulevard or any of those bikes? There's no American competition for those. And it is still a very commanding portion of the motorcycle market. Both Indian and Harley, they offer all of these, we're talking almost 1,000 cc's at the small end, all the way up to what's the biggest one you can buy now?
1,900 something.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is in cc's. It's like a 131 you can get now.
Yeah. I know, like my bike's 1,900 and some odd cc's, so that one's even more. Yeah.
That's a bigger engine than some of these Hyundais going around or something. So I think they need to pay attention to that market. Riders like us, we're getting old. They're losing more of us, all the time. I see guys in my riding club that it's like, yeah, it's getting too hard to pick that bike up, so even moving on to the trike sometimes gets hard for them. You need to start offering those other options. I can't get my driver's license and go get myself a Cadillac, but there's still, an affordable Chevrolet that I can get. And that doesn't move over to the motorcycle world. And it needs to. That's where I think they need to go with it. So yeah, that's
okay.
That was a lot there.
So I hear you saying that, you want basically Indian to, reach out and get the smaller, or the younger demographic. They need to really key in on that, and also key in on smaller mid-sized bikes to compete within the market.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Lurch, I'm going to pose the same question to you. What do you think? 26 years, Kennedy bringing in, where do you see Indian, why they haven't grown, lacking that he could bring in and say, this is what we need to do to really compete here?
I think a couple things that he can do and this move can do. If you listen to a lot of more or less uneducated comments on the YouTube videos and whatnot about Polaris owning Indian, they'll say Indian's just they're owned by a snowmobile company.
It's a snowmobile.
It's a snowmobile company. So is that a reality or not? What this will do is now you're separating away from Polaris while they still have ownership in it. It's going to be a standalone company. Now Indian Motorcycles, standalone company, no longer owned by a snowmobile company. And you have Mike Kennedy coming in with a lot of motorcycle background to focus on that. I think that move is going to put Indian back in the same light as Harley. You've got Harley, all they do is motorcycles. Indian, that's all they do in motorcycles. And now they're focusing on that. I think that just that little bit's going to actually help quite a bit. And if they focus on, the brand and the clothing and everything else that comes along with it, and try to make that brand as revered as Harley, I think it's a good move.
Yeah. I think it could work if they do the right things. Here's where I see, to answer the question, where I see Indian lacking over the years, and that I wish they would improve, that I know would improve them as a company. And it's why, honestly, unfortunately, a lot of people don't get Indians, is number one, I love clothing, and Anthony mentioned it. They've got to diversify. Every town I go to, I was just in Boise, I go to the Harley dealership and the Indian dealership, and I buy clothing. I wear Indian shirts, I wear Harley shirts. I have a plethora. It's overwhelming the amount of Harley stuff that I can get, really high quality, nice stuff like the shirt I'm wearing, race jersey. I go into Indian dealerships and it's really difficult to find clothing. It's very limited. When we picked up this 20 over in Vancouver, we picked up this 25 Roadmaster. That dealership, that was the most clothing I ever saw in an Indian dealership. So Anthony mentioned it. They definitely need, and clothing is the best advertising you can have as a company is having people readily buy your shit and walk around with your brand on them, like Law Abiding Biker Podcast, right? Thank you, and you're wearing an Indian. I wear Indian and Harley. Again, it doesn't matter to me. I don't take sides. I wear bullshit. Sometimes I'll wear an Indian hat and a Harley shirt. I love fucking with people. I do it all the time. I do it in my videos if you've ever noticed sometimes.
While you're on clothing, can I add a little something?
Yeah, please do.
We had our motorcycle club meeting last night or the night before, and one of our members, John, who is Native American and referred to as Indian John, rides an Indian motorcycle. And what he said is, what Indian needs to do is like allow Indian dealers to make local T-shirts like the Harley guys do. Because what do you do when you go to another state, another country, or whatever? You buy a Harley shirt that says whatever, something Canada or Thailand or wherever the hell you're at. And the poker chips, the branding, putting their local stuff on. I think that would be great for Indian.
I agree.
That was actually a real issue between dealers and Polaris. So, a lot of guys, yes, every dealership they go to, they've got to buy a shirt. I get tired of all the shirts, so I do the poker chips. And I can go to so many different Harley dealerships, and they're always going to have, most of the times they will have some really cool, they'll have the cheap one, and then they'll have like the really cool poker chip. I've only seen 2 or 3 Indian dealerships that managed to get approval from Polaris to do other than a generic Indian poker chip that just said like the location on it. Auburn, Washington was one, if I remember right, that managed to get it. So they actually had a really cool poker chip. But yeah, you're right. Whatever brand you like, or if you do like both brands, like you said, Ryan, you go to both dealerships and you're looking to see what you like. And it is very limited at an Indian shop. So they need to, hopefully this move will make it so, yeah, dealerships are allowed to do that. And I mean, look, you got to get people wearing your swag and going around with your swag, and promoting it for you. That's free publicity.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. No, it brings up good points. And that's what I'm getting back to is that's my vision. If I'm Mike Kennedy, and I know he's smart enough to know this, and where we see Indian lacking is there is a very large community around Harley Davidson. So you've got the clothing, the poker chips, all that. The other thing Harley Davidson does is, they do hog membership. They do the ride challenges. There's hogs and dogs. They have people come. There's hog chapters. I mean, that is, and then to add the fact that it needs to be much more of a community. They need to, and you can call it copying or whatever. It's not. Everybody does that. When you see something working, you do it too, right? When a phone, one phone company sees another phone company, they all implement it, right? So, and that's one of the things that has kept a lot of people from Indians, and you see it a lot in our comments on our YouTube videos and podcasts, is lack of dealership network. So with that, and let me finish that thought.
Absolutely.
So Mike Kennedy coming in, knowing the soul and heart of Harley Davidson and kind of how that works and what they've built over the years, if he can bring that over, and money talks, bullshit walks, right? But if he can establish a large dealership network, because that is what guys want most from Indian. They're like, I love Indian. I test rode one, but there's nearest dealerships is 600 miles away, right? They got to have that dealership network. And that's something that they've always lacked that is unfortunately keeping guys from buying Indians. And I know that would improve if they do that. So if they get something like Hog, if they start doing ride challenges, if they start good clothing, dealership network, I think, that they will steal more market share from Harley than they are right now. Yeah, go ahead.
So they do have the Indian Motorcycle Riders Group or Owners Club. But so I'll throw it to Anthony to give us a little bit more background on that. I don't hear as much about that, but I don't know if it's because I don't own an Indian or I'm just not paying attention. So it doesn't seem to be as big as Hog, but Anthony, maybe you can talk to that.
So yeah, they've got it, and for the people that have converted over from Harley and they were the ones that were more active in the Harley owners group. They love it. I was never Harley's owner group. I didn't really do the Indian version. But the trouble is, like Ryan hit on it, sometimes it's so far between dealerships. Ryan, you had to go down to Vancouver. I think the next closest one to you is 2 hours away in Auburn, Washington. I'm fortunate. I've got one just on the other side of town. I mean, I don't like the owner, but I've got a dealership here. But in Virginia total, there's 6 dealerships. I guarantee you there's over 12 Harley dealerships in Virginia. Okay. I know we've definitely got one within a mile of the Indian dealership. I've got one right next to work. It's not, and then about an hour south of me, I got a third Harley dealership. I've got to go almost 2 hours to get to another Indian dealership, though. So the network is definitely smaller. And then one of the other frustrations for Indian owners was, wait, I can't just go into a Polaris shop? No, you can't. Just because it's a Polaris shop doesn't mean they have the parts or someone that can work on the Indian. So you had to get on the internet there on your phone or whatever. If you were on a trip, figure out where there was a shop that could work on it for you. So that was a problem. So if they can improve it and be maybe a little more like Harley in that way, then that would be great. But what we've also seen is on the flip side of that with Harley, look at a lot of these smaller dealerships having to close down. Okay. Some of them were private owned, some of them were, controlled by the mothership, and they're having to shut them down. We had one west of where I live, about hour and a half west of where I lived. It was a good one, but the next dealership, even further west from that, but was near a major interstate junction, had closed down because Harley Davidson said, yeah, you guys need to close down. So the 3 dealerships we had in my area, which were owned under a big, they were owned by one of the big car groups around here. They decided, you know what? We're going to push it back out to that interstate junction and get closer to that because that's where it's going to get more traffic and that's where it's going to reach more customers. And they're doing great now. I mean, the people that lost their dealership in between the two, they're probably not so happy, but I think the underserved people out west in Virginia are happier about it. So yeah, it's they definitely need to grow their dealership network, but they've got to do it cautiously and smartly, because they don't want to end up having to close shops down the way Harley did. Yep.
And so dealership network, mid-size bikes, younger demographic, clothing. They need to be more event focused, community oriented to get really people involved with Indian, maybe some ride challenges, promotions like Harley Davidson does, get people out on their bikes, promote it. I think Mike Kennedy, that's my hope, is that he's going to bring all that knowledge, and those are the exact things that he's going to do. And hopefully Carolwood LP will give him the leverage and the money that he needs to. It's going to cost him to do that. That's a long-term play. That's not something that happens overnight. And we're just hoping he can do it. We got a lot more to talk about. We got to do this real quick.
Hey, bikeaholics searching for new and exciting motorcycle products? Zero 3D has the products you dream about for your bike. Check out their wide variety of innovative products for Harley Davidson and Honda Goldwing motorcycles. Zero 3D's got your back with chrome and black parts, lighting, and other comfort products. No modifying, cutting, grinding, or welding for an easy installation. That equals less time installing and more time riding. Zero 3D has a design team of riders with over 40 years of experience with a passion for design and innovation. Zero and Goldstrike are the motorcycle LED lighting innovators for CAN bus plug-and-play system compatibility. They pride themselves on great customer service. Got a question? Get in touch with them via email at sales@zero3d.com or give them a call at 715-808-0027. Check at your local Harley or Honda dealership and ask for Zero or Gold Strike parts. A new leader has emerged, so check out Zero 3D's custom line of Gold Strike products for the all-new Honda Goldwings. Better yet, help support us and head on over to the Law Abiding Biker store and check out our full line of Zero 3D products.
And I saw Anthony up front here as we were getting the podcast started. He's sitting in his shop. This is just an audio. We're not doing video. That's just so we can FaceTime each other. But he was sitting in his chair there and rocking the butt buffer, bro. He got the butt buffer seat cushion out. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a real cheap stool I've got out in the shop. So putting the butt buffer on it actually makes it a little easier to sit here for, however long we go on.
There's no doubt Anthony will not have a sore and achy ass relieving those pressure points. That's a good idea. We keep forgetting, and we frickin' sell the things. We keep forgetting to get them out to the studio here to get on these chairs, especially when we're doing the 2-part series on the Canada trip. We're like, fuck, we should. I don't know why we keep forgetting. Come on,
After
dude.
6 hours in the saddle out here, yeah, it would have been nice. I actually have mine.
Buffers aren't just for motorcycles anymore.
That's right.
I actually have mine sitting on the bar stool.
If you like to go to
home.
sports events where they got the hard plastic seats,
dude,
your butt buffer.
Oh, there
dude,
you go.
Nice call. See, nice, dude. Definitely, guys, we are selling the hell out of the butt buffer seat cushions. It doesn't matter how good your seat is.
It could be better.
It will be better. It just, those long days of riding, you can move around. Hospital grade material. It's not air, won't freeze. It's not gel, won't puncture, all that stuff. It just gets rid of, like Popeye says, the hot spots that you get when riding. So plenty of models to choose from, and over in the Law Abiding Biker store, of course. All right. Did you say we have a couple patron members to thank?
We do.
Lurch, how did I completely miss that up front?
I don't know
dude?
how you did that.
I'm looking.
Right there.
Oh, geez, you hit them down there. Okay,
Well,
very
I
good.
hit them right where they always
We want
are.
to thank Jeffrey Lawson of Charlotte, Michigan, top tier, and David Leichner of Seattle, Washington. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. It's really easy. You basically sign up for a monthly subscription. You get to choose a level and what benefits you want to receive. And there are a plethora of benefits, such as t-shirts and stickers. You get access to the private Facebook group, a troll-free zone, nothing but bikers helping bikers. You get access to live video broadcasts and chat, that patron store discount code all year round. Premium videos up on request, course, access to the ride meetup and events, in which I set up front. Anthony here, remotely has been to a bunch of the events and was at last year's events, and they're always a great time. And we got Harley riders, we got Indian riders, we had Goldwing riders there. We've had BMW riders, so you can ride whatever you want. As long as it's a street bike, you are welcome. It's a welcome community, and nothing but bikers connecting and helping other bikers, guys. So let's talk about this as we move forward, Anthony and Matt. What stays the same for riders and dealers? So I'm just going to give you the facts. This was some of the press release and stuff, and then we'll get into some more discussion. But dealers, service, and production will stay the same right now. Indian continues to support riders globally. Manufacturing engineering teams stay in place. So what I would say is you are not going to see any changes right now. It's going to take a little bit of time. Remember, this deal doesn't even close till Q1 of 2026 if everything goes as smooth as it's going right now. So we'll just stay tuned for that. But you guys aren't going to notice much right now. The bigger picture. Let's talk about this. We keyed in on it a little bit. But the motorcycle industry as a whole is struggling. We know that. And we've talked about it in the past. But industry-wide challenges, Anthony mentioned it, aging demographics, younger riders not buying, Harley and Indian both struggling to reach Gen Z and millennials. This move could be Indian's way of adapting faster to a changing market. And I agree with that. If they go like they are independent, be their own standalone company, it definitely gives them some more flexibility. The bigger, when you're just a small piece begging for daddy's attention in Polaris, you don't always get daddy's attention, and so this gives them the ability, hopefully, to move things quicker and make changes quicker. We've definitely covered that in the past quite a bit. But yeah, we all know it is just a different generation. I will tell you this, and you can say whatever you want. We could, why the younger generation isn't into motorcycles. I say because they're soft.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous. You're soft. You can't sit in bed and do it and scroll on a phone. You can't. It's hard to scroll on your phone when you're riding bikes. I'm teasing if you're a younger listener, but there's a lot of it's a very much a what's the word I'm looking for? Luxury item. And there's a lot of problems. You could get in. We're not going to go down that complete rabbit hole, but the price of houses right now, people can't, young people can't even get into houses. They have to rent because they can't even afford houses. All the companies are, because of the interest rates, are buying up houses and then they're turning them into rent. So there's a whole array of things. I don't necessarily think we need to go down that road. It's fair to say that definitely we've talked about it for years, Harley and Indian and KTM, all the motorcycle industry, Honda, it doesn't matter. The interesting thing that I see is I go to things on my Harley. I ride the Indian. I ride the KLR all summer. Been riding the shit out of my 2-stroke dirt bike on hard enduro single track. And what I see over and over is people my age riding in all those disciplines. Now, we do see some younger riders that go in our group, but that's because their dad is really into dirt bikes and got them in, right? So it's interesting. It's definitely this, 30s and upwards that you see. Granted, there are young riders too, don't get me wrong, but it is definitely a minority, regardless of what discipline of motorcycling you're talking about. So that is a challenge that both companies are facing. They're going to have to figure it out. They're working on it. I know Harley's working on it hard. And like Anthony talked about, hopefully with Kennedy coming in, that is definitely something they need to focus on. These mid-size bikes, these entry-level bikes, maybe it's some electric bikes for younger kids, whatever it is. They realize that needs to be fixed really quick because the money's going to run out with our demographic at some point. So with that said, I think unless you guys have any talking points on that, we can certainly move on to the good or bad of all this, but feel free to jump in if you have anything on the market.
Well, yeah, if I could.
Yeah, please.
So, people may wonder, like, well, how is, just because they make a smaller bike, how's that going to help things? But I think you kind of hit on it when you were talking about the economy, how it's getting harder to buy a house and such. So, you get closer over to Seattle and Washington, or like where I live here outside the nation's capital of DC. You get a lot of people that have to commute a long way on the interstate. And what's one way that you can get to work a lot easier and use those carpool lanes? Motorcycles. Motorcycles, allows you to use those lanes, even though you don't have the, requisite number of people. Or now what they've done here in Virginia is they made it so, you can pay, have your little transponder on your car and, you have an account attached to it, and you can pay to use the express lanes if you want to get to work faster. But what a lot of folks do, because I'm about, without traffic, I'm about an hour from DC. So people will ride their motorcycles. Actually, I've got a couple guys in my riding club that work up north, and they'll ride their bike every day religiously, unless it's just an absolutely no-go day for motorcycles. They will ride that to work. And then you also see those guys, the younger guy, he's on that sport bike. Why is he on the sport bike instead of the Harley? Trust me, that guy would love to have a tour pack or saddlebags or something, but he's got all his work stuff in that backpack because that's the bike he could afford, So I think if we started reaching down into those smaller classes, even make, get the cruisers down to the 500 cc's again, I think you'll see more of the young guys doing that. But don't just stop at the mid-size cruisers. You look at Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda. I can get a 50 cc dirt bike and teach a 6-year-old how to ride it. Start them young. I mean, isn't that what the crack dealers did in your guys' neighborhood when you guys were, cleaning the streets up?
Yeah.
Get them hooked on it when they're young, right?
Yeah. No,
So
that's absolutely it. All sports do that. It's like when I go snowboarding, for kids under a certain age, it's like dirt cheap to take them because they just want to get them addicted. And then when they turn a certain age, I got to pay full price, but they're already addicted. They'll do it for life, right? That's
how much does their snowboard cost versus
correct.
my $700 snowboard?
Correct. They have all kinds of packages. Her season's pass is so cheap compared to mine because they just want her there, And that it follows the same in the motorcycle market. You're right. Interestingly, this is another thing. They definitely get into that younger demographic. And whether you like electric or not, I'm never, I love my gas motorcycles, but I also think electric's cool and it's fun. It just offers a different experience. That's the way I look at it. I don't look at it as I'm saving the environment. I don't really care necessarily about that aspect. That's arguable. So I have on Monday a Sur-Ron Ultra B being delivered here to the studio. It's an electric bike. It's a dirt bike. And And the reason I tell you that is I've been watching, and you're talking about a bike that's like, roughly $6,500. You're going to spend, if you want to build it out, a couple grand to build it out the way you want, but you're still in a much cheaper price range. And so I've been doing a lot of research and I've been watching a lot of YouTube channels. Now with those type of bikes, it is definitely a younger demographic. Like a lot of the channels I'm visiting are younger, a lot of younger people, and they are buying those things in groves and they're riding them. You can make them street legal. It's an affordable electric bike, dirt bike. They can do wheelies. They can ride enduro. It gets them in the market. So that was funny to me. As soon as I started researching that, knowing that bike's coming here and we got to build it out, is and that's exactly, whether it's electric, certainly they need to go that way too, or gas, it needs to be those type of bikes. And that was a really good point for you, Anthony, is the sports bike. A lot of them get the sports bike because you can get those things. It's crazy how cheap those things are compared to a fucking cruiser, or even a mid-size Harley or Indian. And they want to ride motorcycles. You got to give them the opportunity or give them a price point that they can at least get into it. And then as they age, we all get more established. Hopefully that's life, is you establish yourself more through life. You have more money. I have way more money now than I had when I was younger, and I'm able to partake in all these hobbies. But we got to get them in it. And they definitely, now that I've seen this, the Sur-Ron coming and stuff, I'm like, yep, they need to start tackling that demographic. Yeah. Get them a cool Harley, Indian, need to make a Sur-Ron. There's only a couple electric companies, Stark Varg making dirt bikes, Sur-Ron and all that kind of stuff. They need to tackle that market because that's going to get people hooked on the Harley or Indian brand. And then they can move up to a gas or, something else that they make. So, Are you back, Anthony?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was muted.
No, I muted you because there was a bunch of background. That's all right.
Oh,
no worries.
Goodness.
Yeah, no worries. I muted it. I heard it. I think I heard Stacy, and so I just
Stacy
muted
coming
it.
home.
A little bit of drama here.
No worries.
So my daughter should have already been home from school, but like I told you guys, the road was closed down and I had to take a big detour.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they called my wife and said, "Hey, you need to come get your kid." And it's like, yeah, she's got to fight her way around the detour one way to get the car, then go fight around the detour again the other way to go back to the school and get the kid. It's just, yeah, you know how it is. You guys live kind of out in the country and everything.
Yep, totally. Well, no worries. We're going to move on to what this could mean, good or bad. And this is really, a lot of the discussions that are having, I know you with your friends, and just let us know if you got a bust for whatever reason. Obviously, we can finish it off, Anthony, but, so the good Indian, we talked about it, gains more focus, agility, and independence, could expand their dealer network. And that's what we're hoping for. And they can innovate quicker. The risks, obviously, less financial backing from Polaris, could make Indian more vulnerable, and private equity ownership. We talked about that can sometimes mean cost cutting, or short-term goals. And so we talked, let me say this and then I'll have you guys jump in. We've talked about it before. We need both, whether and it's interesting to me when guys are so brand loyal that I don't understand why people limit themselves, but that's just me. It's good to like brands and stuff, but I don't understand I'm it's like I'm dying on this hill over here and I won't even look at anything else. I mean, it's just really limiting yourself. So we need, with that said, I want both companies to succeed. Anthony touched on a little bit. Competition in the marketplace is good for us all. Indian innovates, Harley innovates because Indians chasing them, and Harley, knows Indians chasing them, and vice versa, right? And so we've seen that, especially with King of the Baggers, which has been huge for both companies, that they continue in that. I'd like to see Indian get into hooligan. They're only doing baggers right now, so I'd really like to see them expand into that. I think that would be really helpful for them with some of their mid-sized bike stuff. I know a lot of comments, guys would like that. Indian riders would love them to be able to get into that category at the races, but we do not. If you're one of those guys that's so brand loyal and you're like die Harley and you're actually hoping Indian dies, that's foolish, because you want to see Harley just go status quo, because they would, because they'll save a fuckload of money, especially during turbulent times. They will not innovate. And if Harley dies, Indian would do the same thing. Companies will only do what's necessary, to make money. And if they're making money, there's no reason for them to innovate. But when Indian's stealing market share, of course, Harley's going to go, we got to make something better and better, right? And Indian's going to do the same. So please open up your mind that Indian dying is not a good thing. If they were to, for anybody in the riding community, this is good for the whole motorcycle community as a whole. We want Indian to succeed. I want Indian. They make great bikes. I want them to succeed. I want them to push everybody. I want Harley to push them and Indian to push them. So with that said, why don't you just, Lurch, you haven't had anything. What are your hopes here?
Well, I think I said it earlier, but I hope that by going on their own, that they're going to focus on the brand, on the motorcycle. And I think it's going to allow them to be, a little bit more independent and have a different, people are going to look at them differently, right? They're not going to be part of a snowmobile company anymore. They're going to be a motorcycle company. And I think that in and of itself is going to be very beneficial to him. And I look forward to what this new guy brings. I mean, he's got a lot of history in the motorcycle space. And so I think there's potential for them, if they do the things that we've talked about with, improving the dealer network, improving the brand and the clothing and all the accessories. There's a chance that they can really improve. And if they improve, then it makes Harley step up their game. It's better for everybody. Yeah, so I'm optimistic with this move.
Yeah, I am too. Overall, optimistic about it. Again, I have a stake in the game. We all do as writers. We want them to succeed. I'm pushing. I'm excited, because I'm excited to see if they can push even harder. I think Mike Kennedy coming in is really a fine move. I believe he has gathered enough knowledge, and, is he a leader, a CEO? I don't know. I don't know enough about him. But I do know that when you bring somebody who's been in that long, they know what works and they know what doesn't work, and they know that he's been through difficult times at Harley, right?
Yeah.
He knows what they did to pull their shit together. He knows what they did, those meetings. Here's what we're going to, right? So, and just him being in charge of the Americas dealers, right? That tells me that he realizes he's going to realize the importance of building a network and a community and really focusing on brand, and, getting that in front of people. I have high hopes that he's going to do that. Here's probably my thing that concerns me most. Again, not wanting them to fail is obviously money. And, there's going to be some big asks, I'm sure, as they need to, reinvent, so to speak, a little bit. My concern is Carolwood LP. If I have any hangups, and I hope it's not that way, is that they stifle, because I don't know how much money they're willing to, put up, to make the necessary changes, because it's a big bill. And I know it's going to take time. I'm not saying that's going to happen. And I'm on the other hand, very promising that they've never sold a company they've bought. That's huge to me in my mind that, okay, they're in it for the right reasons. They buy these companies, they build them, make them independent, and then they just profit off them, right? So there's a lot of good things there. And again, the only reason I say all that is obviously I want Indian to succeed. I want to see more bikes. I want to see what they're coming out with, next year, coming here in 26. And I just love bikes and I want to see both and I want to ride both. So, yeah, I'll pass it to you there, Anthony, for your thoughts.
No, I agree with you actually. I mean, I know you like to have back and forth, but it is going to be good for everybody. And I definitely encourage people, talking about the diehard Harley rider and everything. Look, I get it. I know there's people like that. I mean, my uncle's never driven anything other than a Chevrolet and never will drive anything other than a Chevrolet. Yeah. So there's some people that, okay, they are the way they are. I respect that. It's like having your favorite sports team, but if you're open to it, definitely go try one of the others. I mean, that's one of the great things about this channel is you get out there, Ryan, and you test ride all these different bikes. You don't just test ride the different Harleys. You've test ridden, the Indians, obviously. You've got one there in the shop. I think you've even gone out and done the BMW Cruiser and your job as a law enforcement officer. I know you tried the BMW police bike and stuff. So you're getting out there and you're doing them, and yeah, diversify, experience riding in different ways. You started trail riding a few years back with Oscar, and now, Matt's doing it with you and Big Daddy's doing it with you. Shoot, I was even looking at inexpensive dirt bikes myself because I've got 3 acres that I'm going to cut a trail for my kids to encourage them to get out there and ride. Unfortunately, I can't buy them an appropriate sized Harley Davidson or Indian dirt bike for them to do it on. So I've got to go look elsewhere to do this. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where this leads both companies. They're both taking the gloves off and, they're putting their running shoes on, and they're going to see how fast and how far they both can push each other. So it'll be really good to see where this goes. I would like to, as I've said before, I would like to see it go towards smaller bikes, and I would like to see it diversify. Harley Davidson had the run with the Buells. Indian had the FTRs. They've discontinued the FTRs. Bring them back. I thought that was a great bike. I test rode one at a demo day, and I mean, that thing really moved. It's just not the bike I want to do a 1,000-mile road trip on. So,
right.
But they're great, and they're purpose built, and they're fun when you're using them for those purposes. So that's where I am on it. How about you, Matt?
Oh, I've already said my piece.
No, Lurch is like, I'm done.
Yeah.
It is interesting. It's going to be exciting. This coming year, the next at least 2 years, you've got a new CEO at Harley Davidson. You've got a brand new CEO at Indian. Indian's breaking off. It's going to be an independent motorcycle company. So if anything, shit just got real, and you should all be excited about it. I'm excited about it because we follow this stuff. And I really, really have looked at Indian for years and went, you got to do that, like stuff we've talked about. And I really feel like they can do it now and really expand their market share and get more guys, at least interested or riding Indians. And again, that's all because it pushes the whole industry. But, yeah, and we've kind of been still for a long time. We've had, one CEO at Harley. They've made a lot of moves. Indians kind of just remained, and now everything just got completely shook up. And so you basically have 2 heavyweights with gloves going in the ring, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, having two brand new CEOs at the same time, obviously they both have something to prove. They're going to be pushing.
Yeah, right.
And so it's great timing that, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're both brand new at the same time. They're going to be pushing hard to prove themselves. And so there should be some pretty good back and forth and some competition, and hopefully we benefit from that.
Yeah, buddy.
So one other thing that they need to keep in mind, this is huge for motorcycle riding, is if you've got a dealership selling the bikes, you really need to look into taking that MSF course, easier for people. The dealerships that I've seen do a lot better are the ones that have their own space for their own course, so they control all the seats. So it's like, hey, yeah, come buy an entry-level bike from us. We'll even teach you how to ride out back in the parking lot. Not everybody has that type of real estate that they can do it with, but you gotta figure it out, because you gotta make it easy and accessible. How many people ride a bike? So this goes back to Ryan, when you were asking about number of dealers and everything. A lot of people are choosing the bike they're choosing because it's convenient and it's easily accessible. So a part of that accessibility is making, an improved riding course part of your experience. So that, and even like when, active duty in the military, that was one thing that you could take the riding course on base for free. It was something that they did for service members to ensure that you didn't just go to the DMV and get a license. You took an actual class and you were certified. I used to encourage leadership, like, hey, even if you don't want to ride a motorcycle, please go take the class so you understand what your subordinates are doing. Everyone learned how to shoot, their rifle. I think, more people need to learn how to ride the motorcycle, even if you aren't going to actually get a license. If more people understood that, it would be better. Even the same, like when I took my learned how to be a CDL driver, it made me a better driver. I think, you're more aware of what the motorcycle rider is going through and what the truck driver is going through. So that would definitely help grow ridership, in my opinion.
Well said. All right, guys. Hope you really enjoyed that discussion. A lot to chew on. And of course, we would love to see your comments. Head over to the YouTube video and see that. Leave some comments, or right here at lawabidingbiker.com/whatever episode number this is on our website. There's comments there. You can leave them. But it's going to be interesting over the next year, for sure, the next couple years. The industry's getting shaken up. Maybe that's what it needed. Maybe that's what we needed to they've been innovating. King of the Baggers has been huge, but I'm excited. And of course, stay tuned. Get subscribed to the podcast. You can listen to it on any major podcast platform. Get subscribed to the YouTube channel, because, of course, we're going to be keeping our ear to the ground. We will be covering this. Now, I got to tell you this, guys. As bikers, we all know that unexpected things can happen. Now, many of us, of course, we're prepared for a mechanical issue. Of course, we've got our awesome Cruise Tools roadside emergency repair kits right from the Law Abiding Biker store. We have one specific for Indian, for Harley, metric, all that. But a more serious than a motorcycle breakdown is an injury to you or someone you are riding with. Now, why the hell would you risk not being prepared for that, Bikeaholics? My God. Get prepared.
For the love of God.
That is why we brought the Law Abiding Biker First Aid and Trauma Kit to our store at a very affordable price. So we've given you no reason not to be prepared with a small and easily stowable biker prepared first aid kit. Yep. I want to tell you guys, we really thought this out before we brought it to the store. Want to make sure it had the necessities without overdoing it, because you can get stupid about it. We wanted to keep it small, compact, and just have the shit you need for a motorcycle possible situation. So the kit comes with everything you need, such as a plethora of different size bandages, gauze, compression dressing, medical tape, latex gloves, whistle, scissors, rescue blanket, and more importantly, that military grade tourniquet that can save a life. You got to have a tourniquet, guys. They're super easy to use. Watch a video, take you 3 minutes to figure out how to use it. That can really save a life. And all these items are inside a very tightly packed tactical nylon MOLLE bag measuring only 8x4x4. And the best of all, be careful of knockoffs. There's a lot of knockoff shit out there online. Stay off Amazon. It's just, we we created this one. We sourced it. It's going to have what you need. You'll know it because our design kit is biker approved, and it has our logo right on the outside of the kit. You can only get ours in the Law Abiding Biker store. If you see a lookalike, it's not ours. You got to get it from the Law Abiding Biker store. It's not something you should have with you at all times, but a must have at all times. Admittedly, Lurch was unprepared for years. I was unprepared for years. Why I didn't carry a really compact, really good first aid kit like this is beyond me. I'm glad that we got by, but we don't leave home without it. All of us were carrying them up on our 11-day Canada trip. It's foolish not to be prepared for that medical emergency. Get the Law Abiding Biker First Aid and Trauma Kit right in the Law Abiding Biker store. We are selling the hell out of them, but have no doubt, Lurch is keeping up on stock, and he just got a huge shipment in, and so we've got them ready to go. And yeah, get over there. Remember, no tax if you're not a Washington State resident. Free shipping over $100. You can use shop. You can use the payment plan if you want. 4 equal payments, no interest. We got everything over there in the Law Abiding Biker store to make it easy for you guys to shop and get stuff you need. We'll get it to you lickety split. Have no doubt about that. Peace, guys. Get out there and ride.